Hey everybody, so I've decided new year, new plan, in the sense that I'm not gonna waste my time going into deep thoughts on movies that sucked. I didn't do it like a boss. I just don't have the patience to spend time deconstructing these sucky movies. So I'm just gonna talk about very briefly why it sucked and move on. I did it then and I'm gonna do it now because you know what? The Turning sucked. That movie was such a waste of time. So let's quickly get into why it didn't work. And basically, this movie is a bunch of nothing. It's all build up with no payoff. I haven't been this bored with a horror movie in ages. And that's what this movie did. It just bored me. And it had talent in there. It had talent behind the lens. The director has directed episodes of Daredevil, Handmaid's Tale, all these different things, and American Gods. So it's like, it looked good. That was about it. Waste of time. Don't bother to go to cinemas to see this if you haven't. And if you decide to stream it, I hope you don't fall asleep. So The Turning gets a 3 out of 10. And maybe because I had just seen the turning, maybe because I had just seen The Turning, it made me enjoy this movie so much more. I don't know. I really need to see this movie again. I've read reviews on this film and I just don't agree with the low score this film has, because I think this is one of the best versions of a dark fairy tale I've seen in quite some time, and that's gonna be Gretel and Hansel. Directed by Oz Perkins and starring Alice Krieg, Sophia Lillis, and Samuel Leakey. This, of course, is another version of the story of Hansel and Gretel, who, after they're kicked out of their mother's home, they have to go out and seek shelter and food, and end up coming upon this cottage that was filled with food. And of course, if something seems too good, it probably is. So Gretel and Hansel. And first of all, let me say that off the bat, I thought this was really well done. Oz Perkins is a director that I've only seen 2 of his movies so far, and that's The Blackcoat's Daughter. I think that also goes by the name of February, but I know it as The Blackcoat's Daughter, which I think is a really solid, very well done horror movie. And then there was I Am the Pretty Little Thing That Lives in the House. I think that's the entire title. That was boring. That was nothing for me. So going into this, I didn't really know what to expect, other than the fact that it's a grim fairy tale, which I always dig. I always like dark fairy tales. It stars Alice Krieg, aka the Borg Queen. She's just awesome. She's in one of my guilty pleasures. She's also a villain or villainess in Stephen King's Sleepwalkers. That movie is so bad, it's good. But she's actually really intense in that movie, and she's one of the best things about the movie. So I like her there as well. She always makes for an excellent villain. So she plays the witch here. And of course, Sophia Lillis is most famously known from the recent It Chapter 1 and 2 movies. So I liked what I saw in the trailer, and I wanted to see this as like, it can't be worse than The Turning, or I hoped it wouldn't be. And I was pleasantly surprised, guys. Like I said, maybe it's because The Turning was so bad that I enjoyed this so much. And I've only seen it once, but from what I've seen, first of all, visually, I think this movie looks really good. There's this sense of something around the corner in every shot. It's a very good use of lighting, natural lighting, I think. It reminded me of The Witch in that sense. And I also like that a lot of time is spent with these kids in the forest, because, I mean, think about it. These are 2 kids basically kicked out on their own. They have nothing and no one, and it's into the forest they go, so it gives this real sense of these kids are never safe. You don't feel at any point that they're safe in their environment. And I think Sophia Lillis does a really good job of portraying, especially if you look at it from the whole allegory or metaphor of a young woman on the cusp of a young girl on the cusp of womanhood, and all the dangers that can entail, because she's actually running from a situation. In every situation, she's very intuitive and she's very aware of, you know, how easily people could take advantage of her and her little brother. And I like that. I felt like the entire story was basically her story, and I think that's probably why the movie's called Gretel and Hansel and not the other way around. I like that little nod there. And like I said, I felt like the tension was there. I like the scares. I felt there were moments where I was thinking The Haunting of Hill House, The Witch. This movie to me was visually very well directed, great use of sound, great use of lighting. And Alice Krige, once she's introduced, you know, here's the thing though, there's at no point do you feel that she's this sweet old lady, you know. I never, of course, maybe because I know the actress and I know the story, but you kind of wonder why these kids would ever trust. But then again, if you watch the movie and you know their situation, you understand it's a situation where they're desperate. So I know some people might think the pace dragged, this was a bunch of nothing. I never felt that way because I enjoyed that feeling of immense dread and wondering what was going to happen next. I liked the subtle use of the magic stuff, just like in The Witch, where you weren't sure in that movie if what was happening to that family was supernatural or not. I dig that. I can deal with a slow burn if the story is interesting and if the acting is good enough. And basically, Alice Krige and Sophia Lillis, they carry this movie. It's their film. When they are together on screen, when they are interacting, you just see that clash of wills where you know Gretel is playing the long game, so to speak. Unfortunately, a movie is, of course, it's not a perfect film. It does have moments that can feel like maybe this should have been edited a bit tighter. This drags for too long, you know. There are moments where the camera work feels a bit repetitive with some of the shots that you're getting. And the young boy in this, Samuel Leakey as Hansel, he is, I'm sorry, he's not really interesting in any way. Like, you know, some kid actors, they can nail stuff like this, and others, it's just, they don't feel like they fit. And unfortunately for me, again, I don't feel like this is Hansel's story. He is there because he has to be, I don't want to get too spoilerish, but he's there because Gretel needs him, or that kind of thing. But other than that, he has no real character development in this movie. He is he's an additional shoe that you don't need, you know. I'm so sorry, I don't like to pick on kid actors, but honestly, he just didn't feel like he served much of a purpose in this story. There's not much to do with him, you know. He has this naivete to him, and the way the story ends, it does build into, I do like there's a nod to what he would become, and it fits within the world of the Grimm fairy tales. I like that. But overall, this character, if he wasn't in the movie, you absolutely would not miss him. And this movie would actually work if it was just called Gretel. Honestly, it is that story. It is her story. So overall, guys, like I said, I don't know if I enjoyed this movie as much as I did, because of the fact that I'd seen something so crappy the week before and I was craving a good horror. I don't feel it's that. I really don't. I feel this movie is not getting, I mean, maybe people went into it hoping for something more action oriented, and I can think back to when The Witch first arrived. I know a lot of people who thought that movie was boring, who now looking back at it think it's a really good movie. So some people don't like a slow burn, especially when it comes to horror. They feel like if something isn't happening every single minute, then it's not worth the time. I disagree. I like this movie, and while I can see the flaws, I can see where it has pacing issues, where there are characters who just pop up and then disappear and serve no other purpose. I just feel like the strong acting from our two female leads, the visuals, the sound, and the lack of unnecessary jump scares makes this work. And as a Grimm fairy tale, it feels to me, as somebody who grew up reading Grimm fairy tales and really liking them, I appreciated the fact that it did grab onto the dark tones that those stories were always meant to be. You know, I could enjoy wacky ride like Hansel and Gretel, the one that starring Hawkeye. I actually like that movie. I think it's stupid and it's silly and it's fun and it's entertaining. I have nothing against that movie. But I also think that not enough people do these grim fairy tales right. And here I felt like it was done right. So guys, all that said, I'm gonna give Gretel and Hansel a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I'm bouncing back and forth. I need to see it again. So let's stop and say 6.5 out of 10. But is it as bad as it's turning? Absolutely not. I think it's getting a raw deal in the reviews online. And I feel like it's a much better movie than people think it is. But to each his own. We're all entitled to our opinions. And that's going to be it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button. It's really appreciated. For new visitors, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on my face right over there. And you can check out past videos right over there. And this week we have coming up Birds of Prey. I think that's like the biggest movie for February. You know, I have to see what else is out there. But I am most definitely looking forward to this just because of the fact that for once we got a trailer that didn't feel like it was giving away anything, you know. I like that. I like trailers that don't feel like they need to spell out everything for you or flat out lie like some of them do. So I'm on board for this, and the early reviews have been pretty good. So fingers crossed, and Birds of Prey is up next. Until then, guys, bye bye.